Rumours that Red Bull and Aston Martin had both broken the 2021 cost cap rules rocked the F1 world. And with the suggestion that Red Bull has spent a considerable sum more than the $145 million allowance could have massive repercussions for Formula One. If the conclusion of the FIA's investigation, now delayed until Monday, should find any team guilty of breaking the financial cost cap, there's a shopping list of possible sanctions outlined in the regulations that could be applied. But with no precedent, we're all left a little unsure how the FIA will respond. Here's what the potential punishments could be according to the official documents. Firstly, if there is any wrongdoing found, it will be referred to the Cost Cap Adjudication Panel, which is a group of 6 to 12 judges put forward by the FIA and the teams. They decide the severity of the penalty needed, based on how much the teams have spent above a 5% threshold. Now, that 5% number is not insignificant and equates to around an extra $7 million for 2021. For context, Fred Vasseur pointed out that a major upgrade package costs teams around $200,000. Any overspend below the 5% threshold is regarded as minor, and for this the CCAP may give out something as simple as a fine, which for an organisation that literally has more money than it can spend could be seen as no more than a slap on the wrist. But more concerning for the teams are the sporting penalties, from which one or more can be selected. The least painful of these is a public reprimand, which, while embarrassing, is not much more than an official telling off. More dramatic alternatives are the deduction of constructors' or drivers' championships points from the season concerned, especially sensitive for Red Bull given the fact that Max Verstappen only just won the World Championship last year. Then there is what is clumsily defined as suspension from one or more stages of a competition, excluding for the avoidance of doubt the race itself, where teams could be seen as not allowed to compete at certain race weekends. There are also 2 penalties affecting future performance of the team, rather than the past season's results. This is a reduction in the team's own cost cap for the following year, and limitations on the ability to conduct aerodynamic or any other testing. Matters become more serious and the consequences far greater if the breach is in the material overspend zone, over the 5% threshold, which is where Red Bull is rumoured to be. Spend more than that 5% and the CCAP will impose a Constructors' Championship points deduction. They too could look at suspension from races and, most dramatically, exclusion from the championship in totality. Factors that could affect the severity of the penalty include any element of bad faith, dishonesty, or willful concealment of fraud. They'll also look unfavourably on any failure to cooperate, or if a team is found to have breached the rules on multiple occasions, either in that year or in the previous year. On the other hand, there are some mitigating factors that they will take into account, such as voluntary disclosure, a track record of compliance, full and unfettered cooperation, and perhaps, most significantly, unforeseen force majeure events. The biggest question has always been, will the CCAP be bold enough to make a post-season decision on a points deduction that impacts the outcome of the drivers and or the Constructors' Championships? And that is the situation that F1 is potentially now facing. These are judges who operate independently of the FIA and carry no baggage, so in theory, anything is possible. Taking the 2021 title away from Max Verstappen would be a massive call to make, but Olympians have lost gold medals months or years after the events when the results of drug tests worked their way through the system. It's never too late, it seems, to penalise cheating. However, to do similar in F1 so long after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will potentially rock the championship to its foundations. Realistically, no one, not even Toto Wolff, expects or wants that to happen. Perhaps more likely would be a sanction impacting Red Bull's second place in last year's Constructors' Championship. While that would appear to be meaningless, it could have a financial impact if it means that Red Bull loses a substantial chunk of F1 income. The teams that finish third or below could then, in theory, gain extra money. Any penalty decision could of course be followed by a protest to the International Court of Appeal, and that would drag on proceedings even further, while the CCAP can itself review its own decisions if new evidence emerges within 3 months. It's also worth noting too that the financial regulations operate within a 5-year statute of limitations, in effect creating some leeway for a whistleblower who has subsequently left a team to report suspect behaviour, akin to Nelson Piquet Jr., who revealed the details of the Crashgate scandal almost a year after the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. In other words, the CCAP could still go back and investigate the 2021 season in 2026. Red Bull boss Christian Horner continues to insist that there is no issue, and the team is confident in what it submitted to the FIA back in March. This is a huge story, and is seen by some as a major test of FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem's leadership.